True confession, this is take 2. I actually recorded this entire thing, and when I went to drop it into the video editor, there was no audio. And that's because there is a button on the back of this microphone or on the top of the microphone. Sometimes it's on the bottom of the microphone, depending on where I'm mounting it. But it's a button that you press when you don't want sound to be recorded, when you want to mute the microphone. Very handy in live streams, not as handy when you bump it accidentally just before you shoot a video. So, welcome. If you've come over from Substack, I appreciate you being here. Make sure that you subscribe here on YouTube. I'm trying to grow the channel. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. This one is it's things that I would tell myself. It's things I would tell me. Advice for me at 23. And I chose that specifically because it rhymes. I might have chosen a different age if I could have made it work with the gimmick. But actually 23 was a good age for me. It was, I was already out of high school. I was already kind of getting out on my own, doing my own thing. I think by 23, I had been doing engineering stuff. I was working as an electronics engineer somewhere, and then it wasn't long after that I started working in radio. But I was always writing. Writing was always part of my life. Probably could have done a lot more writing, but I was kind of, I don't know. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a novelist. And I think the one thing I didn't do, the one thing I didn't think of, the one thing I didn't try was writing more books. So that leads me to my first of 5 pieces of advice I would have given myself at 23. And you can tag along for the ride. I think you'll get something out of these too. But advice, the first. Number 1 is something I actually came up with while in Vegas. It's my 4 C's. It's create and curate constantly and consistently. I am a creator by nature, always have been. I am a writer, of course, and novelist, but I've been a copywriter. I've been a photographer. I've worked in video and film. I've worked, you name it. I've been a creator for a long time. So, but it's a little ironic that my first piece of advice to my younger self is to create more. But the truth is, like I said earlier, I didn't create as often as I could have. I was lazy about it, is the pure fact, and I just kind of wanted things to just sort of happen. I wanted to be a novelist, but I just sort of wanted the books to appear, and that's just not the way books work. So, if I could give myself an advice, it would be to create more, but it would also be to do that both constantly and consistently. We live in an era where we've got the tools to create all the time. I've got tons of stuff. I've got, this microphone, this iPhone that I'm using as my camera. Actually, the iPhone is sort of my favorite piece of technology because it's with me everywhere I go. But I can record video, I can shoot photos, I can record just straight up audio if I'm doing a podcast. I can do graphic design. While I was in Vegas last week, I was sharing a booth with JD Barker. And he printed up these signs just on printer paper, black ink on white paper that said complimentary. And I thought, I got to do better than that. Not only do I got to show up JD, that's just a given, but I've got the skills, the talent, the time, the resources to take this up a notch. And so what I did was I sat down with Canva, generated an image in Canva's AI, put some text on there that said complimentary, signed by the author. I have my signature digitized already, so I dropped that in there. I had a little QR code for people to get on my Substack. I dropped that in there. I'll flash it up on the screen for you. But I did that in about 5 minutes. I had a completely original piece of artwork that served a purpose. I used my creative skills and talent to do that. And, it's easy with tools like Canva, but, we've got all these tools. We need to be using them in creative ways. That's where we're creating, right? By the way, it's not about the tool. People like to criticize, using AI for things. And I agree. I don't think you should be using AI to do the work for you. I think you should be using AI as a tool to help you do the work. You should be the one who's driving all that, creative power. And that's a whole topic for another day. But in 5 minutes, I had this little sign that served us through the conference. Served me anyway. It was all branded for me. I brand everything for me. So that's a piece of advice I would give my younger self. Is create and do that constantly and consistently, but also curate. Now, there's two things there. Consistency. I have learned, and lots of people giving advice about YouTube, etc., have reiterated this, but the key to success in everything, even if you suck at something, is to just keep doing it consistently. So, I've written books for years. As long as I'm consistently putting out books, my audience grows, my revenue grows, everything grows. It's not about the quality of the book either. I happen to think I write really, great books. And I think a lot of my readers agree based on the reviews. But even if I'm not putting out the best work I could put out, as long as I'm consistently putting it out, I'm serving my my readers with that, and they show their appreciation by continuing to buy those books. Now, if you're really terrible and you're not putting in the effort to edit and that sort of thing, that's a whole other thing we can talk about another time. But the consistency is the key. I have a weekly Substack that I'm keeping up, and this has become part of it. So posting to YouTube has become a consistent habit now, or is becoming a consistent habit. I don't know if you can call 3 consistency. This is number 3 in my efforts to post a video with each Substack post. But you got to start somewhere, and I think that I actually have seen some growth on YouTube because of this. So that's the key. That's the secret sauce. And a lot of creators will tell you that consistency is probably the number one thing you can do. You can improve quality as you go, but you can only improve consistency if you keep coming back to it over and over again. But the last part of that is curation. And there's something I'm going to tell you about at the end of the show along these lines. But curation is just the art of gathering as you go. So I'm creating stuff, but I'm also looking around at what's something that I enjoy? What's part of my story? And what's a product that I love, a service I love, an experience that I love, and I curate these things and bring them into my life with consistency and constantly. It's a way for you to grow vicariously through the work of others or through found art and things like that. So I'm constantly on the lookout for new products and new things that I enjoy. And it's not about the stuff. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's not about the stuff. It's about the experience. I'm definitely going to deep dive into that in another point here in a moment. But what you want to do is constantly and consistently create and curate so that you are always building up and evolving your brand, yourself, your body of work, all of that. If you apply that, young Kevin, and you watching and listening, if you apply that same principle to your daily life, to your career, to everything, you will see growth, you will see success. That's a Kevin Tumlinson guarantee. So, number 2 piece of advice I would give to my 23-year-old self is keep a journal. Actually, keep up with a daily journal. That's the advice. I have kept journals for years. I got hundreds of them, and I've got dozens that I keep up consistently right now. And some of them, I've got a daily journal that's it's a moleskin journal and a little leather sleeve. Actually, this is it right here. See this guy? And I've modded it to put my own, I cut out the little ring that was inside of it because I wanted to do something a little different. I've got several of these leather sleeves actually, but that is where every day I write 3 pieces of wisdom, things that I've learned, heard, thought of in the shower, that I feel are wise and that are good guidelines for my life. I write 3 things I'm grateful for, and then I fill the rest of that page. And this is just a 3.5 inch by 5 inch Moleskine gridded notebook. You might see the grid there. And I've got my favorite pen here. I'll talk a little bit about that stuff later too. But that's a stream of consciousness kind of thing, and it just helps me get started for my day. It's momentum. It's writing momentum. It's creative momentum. And it's a release. It's cathartic. I can put those thoughts down, and they're out of my head, and possibly even serving a purpose for me. I've got dozens of other journals. I got one. This is actually a little pocket bullet journal that I use for YouTube ideas, and my YouTube strategy. I got a ton of stuff in there. I've got a pocket field notes. This didn't start off as a journaling video, but you get that as a bonus. But I got a little pocket field notes here. This I carry with me in my bag when I'm traveling, so I can jot things down. I've got a little tiny notebook I keep in my pocket at all times. I'll talk a little more about this in a moment. I keep saying that. I'll talk a little bit more about all that in a moment. But what I would tell my younger self is keep up with the daily journal, because I also use an app called Day One. It's available on all the Apple platforms. It may be available on other platforms, but I can use it on my iPhone, on my desktop, on my my iPad, and I have started keeping a daily log because I didn't do that consistently. I started keeping a log of my life back in 2016 when I started using the app. And what Day One does that I think is cool is it will occasionally tell you, look at every entry from this day since 2016. And sadly, there are years where I didn't write on that day, but the ones that I did, I've noticed patterns. Like there's things that that kind of keep recurring, ideas and motifs, complaints about things. Sometimes I'm hung up on I wish this was different about my life. I wish that I had this job or this role, or I wish my books would do this, or that I lived here or there or whatever. And a lot of that stuff would kind of just keep popping up. Well, if you're going to notice, if you notice patterns like that in a journal year over year on the same day, maybe there's changes you should make to your life. So it's been a cathartic sort of experience to look back at that. So and it's been educational. It's taught me some things about myself, and it's helping me to evolve as a human being. It's helped me to evolve in my career. It's helped me evolve in my relationships. So it's just very useful to be able to look back at all that. Plus, you can kind of put yourself back in a spot, like if it's a good day. I got a lot of entries from when we were doing van life the first time, and there are some really good moments there, and I get to relive those. And almost be right back in it because I took the time to shoot a photograph or jot something down or shoot a little bit of video and put it in my my Day One journaling app. And Apple's got their own journaling app, which is very similar. So I guarantee there's something like that on Windows and Google and others. So keep a daily journal of your life. I've got a reminder set for 6 p.m. every day, and I have consistently for nearly 2 months now written something, either before or around that time every day. Even when I was traveling, last week in Vegas, I kept it up every day, despite sometimes getting in really late, being tired. I always made sure that I wrote something, a paragraph at least. And I was actually on the plane home on Saturday when I realized it was time for me to do a journal entry. Didn't feel like getting my iPad out with the keyboard and all that, so I took out my iPhone and used my thumbs, and I wrote a journal entry while sitting on the plane. And I love that. I love that I have the flexibility and capability to do that. And a year from now, that's going to pop up on that day, and I'm going to remember the experience, and I'm going to remember the things I learned, and I'll be able to measure myself against that experience. So keep a daily journal. Keep it up. Keep up with a daily journal. 23-year-old Kevin, and also you, YouTube watcher. Advice number 3 would be more experience, less stuff. Now, at 23 years old, I was definitely starting to collect some things. I've always been very nostalgic about my stuff. It's a sickness. So I started gathering way back then And eventually all that starts to weigh you down. Kara and I, as we're going through a whole process right now of downsizing, and we're embracing a kind of minimalist attitude. And it's forced us to get rid of a lot of stuff. Now, we've already had one massive garage sale here not quite a month ago. I've been selling a ton of stuff on Facebook Marketplace, things I never thought I'd sell, but I'm selling. I've made myself part with it. And we've got another garage sale coming up this weekend, and that's not going to be the last one, because we have got the garage just crammed full of stuff that we are willing to part with. And we've got more of it kind of just laying around in drifts all over the house. So we're probably going to do this at least one more time, possibly more. But the goal is to get the house completely empty by December so that we can put it on the market by January. And we're going to get back in the van for a little while, but we intend to move into an apartment in the Domain in Austin. That's where we want to end up. Life sometimes throws you a curveball, but that's where we intend to go. I love the idea of being walking distance from all the cool things I like to experience. And there's the apartment we've chosen is within a 12-minute walk. I can be at 2 different coffee shops, half a dozen restaurants, a couple of different stationery shops where I can buy my notebooks and journals, clothing stores, Apple store, the Whole Foods store, actually 3 coffee shops now that I think about it. So that's a place that appeals to us. And the only way we can live there is if we don't own as much stuff. So I'm exchanging stuff for experience. The same is true. I would tell my 23-year-old self, don't bother collecting all this stuff. And I know that's going to be a tough sell for me at 23. But if I had not spent all those years, holding on to things, I would have been lighter weight, more airy. I could have moved around more, had more experiences. So the less focused I am on what do I own, and the more focused I am on what can I experience, the happier and more liberated I feel. So that's probably going to apply to you as much as it would have applied to me, and is definitely applying to me at age 53, and would have applied to me at age 23 as well. So more experience, less stuff. Number 4 is stay analog as much as possible. And this is a weird one, I know, because everything I do, everything I produce right now seems to come from the digital world. I'm very reliant on things like the iPhone and my iPad and laptops, etc. And so a lot of what I do hinges on digital. But when I say stay analog, it's more about engage with using as much of yourself in the process of creation and in your work as you can. I tend to stare at screens all day. You probably do too. And I tend to interact with people via screens. But if Vegas taught me anything, it was the value of being able to kind of bump up against people, hug people, shake hands, share your germs, share your viruses, but also just sit with each other at a meal, break bread, have a drink, have some coffee. Those things are vital to building actual, in-depth, heartfelt relationships. And the same is true for creative work, for example. So those journals I was showing you, those are me engaging with a sheet of paper and a pen in my hand in a way that is different and is actually much more nourishing to me than simply staring at a screen and typing. I love typing, and that also is a tactile experience, an analog experience. I don't really particularly want to do dictation or anything. I know that's a thing. People love it. I've done a little bit of it. But I like the idea. I don't know that I would want to necessarily sit down and write a book by hand. But those daily journals are they're kind of therapy for me. They allow me to express myself in a way that is different than if I were to just type a journal entry. I do still type journal entries. And it's been scientifically shown that the act of writing by hand actually does things to your brain that don't happen when you just type. There was a whole study, I believe it was perhaps Harvard, maybe a different university, but they did this study of students in class, and the students who hand wrote their notes retained information better than the students who typed their notes. So even though the students who were typing might have had more accurate notes, they weren't forming a connection to the ideas the way the students writing by hand did. And because there's something about making those motions with your hand, you're struggling to keep up with what the person's saying, so sometimes you annotate, you make little notes, but you remember, oh, I made that little slash there, I remember that he was saying X, Y, or Z when I did that. I tried to draw a picture of the thing he had on the board, and mine looks terrible, but I can remember his. Those things help you to just ingrain that information in your mind better. I would say that even if you did take notes by keyboard, it would be best to review everything and jot things down by hand in the process of studying. But the other way around is better, I think. Go ahead and write everything down by hand, and then type it up, and then write it down by hand again when you are actually studying. It'll reinforce all that. But that whole process, that analog process, like I've still got all my old camera equipment and everything. I'm about to dust that off and start using that and doing more manual photography, because I'm very reliant on the all the auto stuff that the iPhone can do. So what if I started practicing my photography skills again? What if I start practicing shooting video the way I used to shoot it? These things, maybe they're pointless. Maybe there's no actual practical use for some of it sometimes. But what it'll do is shape the way you think. And having more skills gives you more flexibility. Having more tools in the set gives you greater range. So that's my advice for you, is to stay analog as much as possible. And number 5, my final bit of advice, is a little less about the practicality and more about a sort of spirituality. It's a philosophy for living a good life and being a good person, I think. But that is to only say and think kind things about people. This is a tough one, and I don't do it. I don't always do it, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to make this habitual. But if I could tell my 23-year-old self this piece of advice, it'd probably be worth more than the other 4 combined. But what happens is if you are interacting with someone, you will often form a first impression. What I've discovered is that first impressions are wrong more often than they are right. So it's probably best to go ahead and allow yourself to keep an open mind and form a second impression. But and the way you do that is you say, oh man, that guy said something that really ticks me off. But what's something nice I could think about this person? This person betrayed me, but what's a nice characteristic they have? What's interesting is that pretty often, even if you don't say or do anything, you'll find that because you are thinking kind things about someone, they sort of pick up on it. It's like maybe it's something in your body language, maybe it's something deeper, maybe it's something at the quantum level, but you sort of project kindness and a willingness to be someone's friend. It doesn't always work. There are some people who are just determined to not like you, and I get that. But what you'll find is you'll probably get along much more smoothly with people in general if you develop the habit of always looking for something nice to think about them, and even better if you can come up with something kind to say about them. So when you are talking about someone to someone else, always say kind things, never say unkind things. It gets back to them, and it also helps you cement better relationships with the people you're talking to. If I'm talking about, my wife, and all I'm doing is complaining that she never puts the dishes in the dishwasher, or she never, she never cooks the thing I like anymore, or I'm the one who always has to go pick up the dog poop in the yard, or whatever. These may all be legitimate things to complain about, but by complaining about them to someone else, you give them a bad impression of that person. And I don't want people to have a bad impression of my wife because I love her. But two, they get a bad impression of you, whether they're conscious of it or not. They recognize that you are someone who complains about others. And there is probably in the back of their head the notion that if he's complaining about his wife, he's probably saying, things about me when I'm not around. So there's that. There's also just this sort of karma kind of thing, if you are thinking good things about people, kind and loving things about people, nice things about people, and you are saying kind, loving, and nice things about people, both about them or to them, it's just going to come back on you and benefit you and bless you. I promise you, that is the truth. And that's not woo. That's not it's not pseudoscience. It's not anything but truth. Try it and you'll prove me either right or wrong, but I guarantee you're going to prove me right. So only think and say kind things about people. And that is good advice for young Kevin and good advice for you. And that's going to wrap us up. I appreciate you being here. If you came over from Substack, thank you. Make sure that you like and share and subscribe this video. If you didn't come over from Substack, like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to reach at least 1,000 people and that 10,000 watch hours that magically makes this channel monetizable. So please be sure to share it with people if you like what you're hearing. And if you're not here from Substack, pop on over. You can actually interact with me better over there, and you can see the companion piece I wrote to this video, which I'm going to write next. But that is a great place to find all my back work, everything I've done to date. And I've got thousands of subscribers there that seem to really enjoy engaging with me, so you could be one of them. So make sure you do that. You also, I'm building something. I mentioned I was going to talk about this earlier, but on the curation front, I've built a little a store with affiliate links that's called Curated, and you can find it at kevintumlinson.com/curated. And on that, I'm putting, right now there's only like 4 things on it, but what I'm doing is all the stuff that I it's my everyday carry, it's my the things that have meaning to me, all the stuff that I use in my daily life that are really part of my story. I'm writing little vignettes about them on the site, little stories about how they fit with my story, and then I make those available for you to buy on Amazon with a click. So if nothing else, go check out the actual vignettes. They're short, maybe a paragraph or two, real quick reads, but I try to kind of express how this product or service fits with my own story and what I love about it. So you might discover something you really love there. And I'm going to continuously add things. I've got dozens of photos already that I need to write vignettes for. So this takes a little time, but that's what curation is. You take the time to build it right. I'm curating not just the list of products, but the experience you're going to have with them. So check that out, kevintumlinson.com/curated. And let me know what you think. And if you find something, pick it up, buy it. It'll be fun. It'll be good. All right. And I think that is going to do it. There will be more to come on Curated, so make sure you check that out. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you subscribing to Substack as well. God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful week and weekend ahead, and we will chat again soon. I'm absolutely sure of it.